Hello, everyone. Welcome into another episode of the Four Quarters podcast powered by Four Quarters Media. I'm your host, Tyler Bennett, here with you once again. Episode 21 of the podcast. It's been, I want to say, a couple weeks since we've done an episode. 2020 has been a year, and when it rains, it pours. The last couple of weeks, for lack of better term, have been interesting. I think that's the best way to put it. Whether it's been health concerns with family, working two jobs more so in the last couple of weeks than maybe I anticipated at the time. But the biggest thing being family. Family is obviously going to come first above all else. It's led to myself falling behind on the season previews. It is what it is. We're going to work to catch up. But I'm sure everybody, if they were in my shoes, family would come first above all else. So we're not looking back. We're looking forward. We're going to continue to work to catch up, make up for lost time as we get ready to enter the month of September already, which feels really weird to say that August, this episode 21, comes out August 31st. 2020 has been a year, but it feels like the months are just flying by, even with everything that has gone on this year. I don't even know what to say. We're in September already. Where did 2020 go? But 2020 can also just leave, and let's just get to 2021 and hope that we start seeing the change in the world that we so desperately need to have. Before we get into this episode, which features Nipissing forward Taijon Graham, we're going to look at, I want to give an update on the podcast because we centered it around the season previews for August, September, October, and the first week of November. That is no longer. We are shifting gears back to our regular Monday and Thursday episodes. Monday being CCAA, Thursday being U Sports. This week is flipped. Monday is going to be U Sports with Taijon Graham, and then Thursday will be CCAA with Keelan Dobish out of Nate, and then next week we will get back on the right path with CCAA Mondays, U Sports Thursdays. And the goal of that is to use this platform to have the tough conversations around racial inequality, the fight against police brutality and oppression of Black people and persons of color. They're not going to happen every week. We're not going to have those discussions every week. But if there are athletes, coaches, administration members, media members, whoever that want to come on and have those conversations, this platform is going to be used to be part of change. And I get into that a bit with Taijon in this episode on how we can be part of change and be the change you want to see in the world. I struggled for months on trying to put into words what I thought and what I felt about what's going on in the world. And whether I knew it or not at the time, growing up as a white male in Canada, I've received benefits for my skin color. I was naive to it at the time. And I've made mistakes along the way as well that I was naive to again. And I apologize if there have been individuals along the way over my 30 years that I have offended, oppressed, tormented, whether I knew it or not. I apologize. And as I go through life now, educating, learning, doing better, I will do better. I'm going to make mistakes along the way. Full admission now. But I will learn from them. And we get into this again with Taijon in the episode. If I make a mistake, please call me out, call it out, point it out, and correct me so I know, one, where I went wrong, and two, where I can correct myself in future situations so this mistake doesn't happen again. And if I see it, if I hear it, I will call it out. Because there is no place for racism, discrimination, anything like that in 2020. We should be so much further along than we are over the last 400 years. I'm sorry for anything that I have done in my 30 years and me being naive to it for so long. With this platform having several Black people, persons of color, whether it's been featured through stories, interviews on the podcast, just regular conversations, I couldn't stay silent anymore because I can't celebrate the accomplishments of these athletes, these coaches, media members, and then not be part of change. I can't listen to music, be part of the culture, and then not be part of the change. So be the change you want to see in the world. That's how I was raised. Treat others how you want to be treated. That's how I was raised. I'm going to be part of change. And it's going to come with speed bumps. Like I said, I'm going to make a mistake. Call me out so I can learn. I will listen. I will educate. And I will do my part in the fight for change. Whatever that part is, even if it is just using the platform to give people a voice, put a voice to their story, I will do that. I will do that. And we saw it in this episode with Taijon Graham out of Nipissing. Just finished his first year in 2019, 2020. We kick off the show with talk on Kobe, what he meant to the world, not just basketball, the reach that the Mamba mentality has, and the impact he had on Taijon's life and countless others around the world. And then we got into one of those tough conversations surrounding the boycotts in the NBA, MLB, WNBA, and MLS on August 26th, 4 days to the day of when Colin Kaepernick was photographed sitting for the national anthem. We got into a good discussion on how we can educate, listen, learn, help be part of change in this fight against racial inequality in not only America, but in the world. It's magnified in America right now, but it happens everywhere. So we had one of those tough conversations that we're going to use this platform to have. And then we looked at his career at Nipissing, year one, kind of what led him to be a Laker, some highs, some lows, the challenges, the positives from the year, and what he's excited for heading into what will be a unique 2020-21 season, with it obviously now being suspended until at least January of 2021. We got to look at what he's looking forward to as he goes into year two, and he shares some predictions on what he thinks the Lakers can achieve this year. And if we have a season, or when we have a season, if everybody comes back healthy, ready to go, don't be surprised if they come true. But with all of that said, let's jump right in right now. Strongly encourage you, if you've made it this far, listen to at least the first half of the episode for the talk on Kobe and the fight against racial inequality in America. There's a lot to take from it. So with that said, let's jump right in. Episode 21 of the Four Quarters podcast, powered by Four Quarters Media, with myself and Nipissing Lakers forward Taijon Graham. Enjoy. All right, so I'm now thrilled to be joined by Nipissing Lakers forward Taijon Graham. Taijon, I want to thank you for taking time to do this. I know we had it planned a couple days earlier, and with 2020 being 2020, I had to push it back. So thank you for doing this. How are things on your end before we jump in?
Everything's going good. Family's safe. I've been working out, staying socially distancing. So everything's been good so far.
That's the most important thing is family health. That's always good. I listened back to your interview with Uprise Canada as well. COVID still hasn't affected anybody. Everybody's still as clear as can be, I guess, and just social distance, getting used to the mask thing and taking it day by day at this point still.
Yeah, wearing a mask has really been probably the hardest thing because I got asthma. So sometimes I'll be running to the bus and I'm just like, I'm out of breath and I got to keep wearing a mask on even though I want to take it off. So that's probably been the hardest part of adjusting. Social distancing hasn't really been that hard because, Toronto is such a big place. So it's really not that hard to social distance. But just wearing a mask and just always being conscientious, knowing that you have to wear a mask and you have to protect yourself and also protect yourself from other people.
Right.
Because coronavirus is so unknown. Nobody knows the logistics of it. Every time we go on the news, there's a new thing coming out about the coronavirus because we're learning on the go.
Right.
So just seeing the news and just observing what people are telling us to do and just safety officials and all that stuff. It's just been It's been a crazy experience. 2020 has been a year that I don't think anyone ever saw coming, from untimely deaths to famous people to this pandemic to all the social injustice going on in the world right now continuously after all these years and just decades upon centuries. It's just been a crazy year.
I always keep saying, I think 2020 is the year we needed to have. I think it puts everything into perspective with the coronavirus and COVID-19, and it's bringing to the forefront all those conversations on the injustices and racial inequality, what, like you said, has been centuries of people fighting for equality, and we're nowhere close to where we should be after 400 years or more. But you mentioned the coronavirus and everything changing. I read yesterday or the day before that now they say it can waft through the toilets in between apartments. I'm like,
I didn't see that.
That's crazy. You could have coronavirus in your apartment because it came through the plumbing from another apartment. That's craziness.
Yeah, and like I said, it just goes back to the unknown. A lot of people at the time, no one, when I first heard about this in March, obviously no one took this seriously. You heard about it on the news, and you see something about news reports in China, you're like, oh, it's in China, we live in Canada, it's on the other side of the world. But then once it got to the States, people started taking it a little bit more seriously than the first death. Right. And then obviously once the NBA shut down with the Rudy Gobert announcement on March 11th, I remember where I was that day. That's when everyone was like, oh, okay, this is serious. And then within the next week, we're all getting emails from school saying we got to go home.
Right.
A week
Like
later.
Rudy Gobert is going to be the where were you? You know where you exactly where you were when moment, and then 2 days later everything's shut down. Like that was a Wednesday, I think,
Yes,
and like by the 13th, like you said, we were gone home from school. Like your schools are closed.
got to pack up out of res.
Yeah,
Like
like you got to hustle, and like they didn't give you much time, I don't think, to move out. Like that's
they
quick,
did.
get your stuff and go home.
Yeah, like I got an email. I probably want to say about I want to say Friday of that week.
Yeah,
I had to move out the next day.
that's
Like,
crazy.
like I had to go. So I had to go. I got a bus to go home
Hmm.
to my parents because no, North Bay's got a bus route from here to go to Toronto and also. So I went home.
Okay,
And I quickly had to get my parents to come drive me back up to get all the boxes and quickly move out. Like it
that's
was a hectic 48 to 96 hours of just hearing about the news, getting ready to pack up, go home, switching to
mhm.
online, socially distancing. Like just it was just such a frantic time that I did not see coming. I don't think anybody saw it coming because once again there was so much that you didn't know.
Right. And
Like people were like originally people were talking about this might be like a respiratory infection. Now
hmm
people are saying all these different stuff and the crazy thing too is the health officials didn't know, and that's the
no,
scary part too. You expect when you hear stuff about a pandemic or an epidemic or an illness that
hmm
the people that you trust most with the most information and went to school for this know what's going on. When
right.
they don't know what's going on, that's when you're like, okay, everything's in chaos. Like the whole world stopped.
Yeah, that's when
Stopped.
we're in trouble. Like you said, when health officials don't know and they're just throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. And still now, like you said before, I don't even think we fully know the
Trial and error.
extent of what this could do. And now I'm like, I've been thinking back and I'm like looking at like December, November. I'm like, okay, I had a cough for like 3 weeks that wouldn't go away. Was this COVID-19? Was it this? Now I'm mentally in my head, and now I'm a Google doctor because I've diagnosed all my symptoms of everything, and it's craziness. It's absolutely you can't write this. I don't even think anybody like Stephen King could write this in a book
Yeah.
and have people think this could even be a sliver of a reality. Yet here we are we're recording this August 29th, and Chadwick Boseman just passed, another
That
another
came out
death
of
in 2020, and then Cliff Robinson today,
yeah.
and ever like right from January this year has been an absolute train
Kobe.
wreck. Yeah, Kobe January, and then
David Stern first.
yeah,
Then within a few weeks later, then January 26th, I'll never forget it. We played the game. That weekend we played York first,
yeah,
traveled to Lakehead on a plane, which is great, which is ironic. And then we played
well,
Lakehead, lost, came back on the Sunday from a
yeah,
plane to Toronto, and then we went back to North Bay. Within, I want to say 1 o'clock p.m., all of a sudden I see in our group chat, people are saying, "Did you hear about Kobe?" I'm like,
yeah.
"No, what are you talking about?" I just type in Kobe Bryant. It says, Kobe Bryant dies in a tragic helicopter accident. I'm like, no, 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 no,
No,
no.
that can't be true. That can't be it. No, we're
And
not
then
ready
once
for
I see,
this.
especially TMZ, I'm like, I watch TMZ a lot. I'm like, okay, yeah, but sometimes TMZ is known for paparazzi and stunts.
Right.
Then once I see like Fox News reports it, and then it's
Mm-hmm.
on the news, and I'm like, oh my god, this is
Yeah.
not real. Especially at the beginning because there's a lot of misconception in terms of who actually like in the plane. So originally I saw a post saying all his daughters were on the plane,
Mm-hmm.
and then eventually they cleared it up and said no, there's 9 people on the plane, but not it wasn't all his daughter. It was just his one daughter, which was obviously Gianna Bryant, God rest her
Mm-hmm.
soul. So just hearing that and just like I didn't go to school the next day. Like
No.
it was that crazy. We didn't have practice the next day. It was just like it was just crazy because I remember Charles Barkley said this like when Kobe died, like it felt like a family member died.
Right.
Like I've never seen so much people over one person they've never met in their entire life, or maybe met once because Kobe has so
Mm-hmm.
much fans and like
Mm-hmm.
taking pictures or whatever. But these people were dying as if like their mother died or
Right.
their dad died or their brother died or their dog died. It was like just seeing the impact that not only did Kobe Bryant have on basketball, obviously for myself specifically, but like just basically at the world. Like I remember seeing this crazy post, which obviously I don't agree with. People were saying was Kobe Bryant, because after Kobe died, obviously that's when everything happened with the pandemic and all that stuff.
Right. Yep.
People were saying someone posted this crazy thing, which obviously I don't agree with, but saying, was Kobe Bryant the person that actually held the world together? Because as soon as he died, everything just like
Fell
went haywire.
apart. Yeah.
Obviously, I don't agree with that, but it just takes into perspective how crazy it's been of 2020 and just having an icon of a athlete and someone
Mm-hmm.
that people just and he inspired so much people with his Mamba mentality and being the best version of yourself
Yeah.
and just doing whatever it takes to be the best possible version you can be and just try to do your best to win. It was just crazy.
And it shows too. Like I had got home from work and hadn't seen the news, and I sat on the end of my couch for an hour and a half, just scrolling social media, news, whatever. Like not like you. I didn't believe it was real to start. I'm like, this can't be true. It can't be Kobe. Like it's got to be anybody else, really, but Kobe. And then you see, like you said, it's all of his daughters on the plane, or it's just one, and then it's teammates and whoever else, or past teammates, and you get all these conflicting reports, and you're like, okay, this nobody knows what's going on. This can't be true. And then, like you said, news outlets are picking it up, and you're like, okay, this is true. And then you start to see all the social media posts and just the reach that Kobe had went so far beyond basketball. And obviously, he's known for what he did on the court. But off the court, that Mamba mentality can be applied to so many things. And how involved he was, too, as a father for his family. I think that's what hit a lot of people is his girl dad and just that reach that he had. That's how it hit so many people. And a lot of people, like you said, felt like they lost a family member when he died.
Yeah, it just goes back to like what LeBron says in terms of like people were saying like this is the happiest they ever seen Kobe been.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember seeing on TV when someone asked him, Kobe, why are you so happy? He's like, because I gave everything. He said, I gave everything to this game. I have nothing left to give.
Yeah.
And I remember LeBron saying, anyone could say Kobe Bryant's probably been the best dad in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Just seeing like how much time he spent with his daughters and his wife Vanessa and just everything. Like Kobe like completely shifted his mindset from a basketball into his next career, which is going to be storytelling.
Yep.
And to tragically see the end at the age of 41, and obviously his birthday passed last year, he would have been 42.
Yeah.
Because I remember people were saying, I think it's true, Kobe Bryant was probably going to be more successful in his second career
Mm-hmm.
than his basketball career. Because
100%.
the second career would have lasted longer because Kobe obviously played in the NBA for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
So this next career could have lasted 40, 50 years if God blessed him that time to live on this earth. So just seeing it tragically end that way, because I know everyone dies and people always say like, with Kobe, you just seem like Kobe was like immortal. Like you just think he's like a superhero, like
Right.
he's not gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
And just seeing the way that he died and just the ripple effect it had moving forward with just seeing the outpour of like love and support from Lakers fans and people on TV and
Mm-hmm.
people giving emotional tributes with the hashtag girl dad. It's just it was so crazy. It was just so crazy to see how much one person can mean
Mm-hmm.
for someone you've never met before.
Yep. And regardless of whatever team you cheer for, that's a guy you respect 10 times over. Like if you're a diehard Celtics fan, you respect Kobe Bryant. No matter your love or hate for the Lakers as an organization, that's a player that I think everybody respects, regardless of your affiliation or whatever. So just the outpouring of support was massive, absolutely massive. And like you said, it was just so sudden. Like you just never in a million years would have thought that would have happened, let alone everything else that's gone on this year. And just blink of an eye, it's another one of those. You know where you were when you found out the news that Kobe died.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what else to say. Like it doesn't seem real, and it feels weird that it's been 8 months.
Yeah, and I think it just goes back to your point where you said, in terms of you don't have to be like a Lakers fan. I think personally, if you just knew what he was about,
Mm-hmm.
in terms, like
Yep.
I said, the Mamba mentality, in terms of being the best version of yourself, whether it's you're a basketball player, if you want to be a writer, if you want to be a businessman, if you want to be a painter, he said, whatever you love, be the best version of that.
Yep.
Do whatever you can to be the best version of that, which is what he preached. So I just think that if you just knew what he was about in terms of inspiring people to be the best version of yourself, which is I think the one thing that we can all take from him about his death, and I think for anyone that's listening, just be the best version of yourself. And that's what I'm trying to do now. Like whatever you can. Like I know 2020 is gonna be like a crazy year, but
Mm-hmm.
any resources you can to just maximize your potential.
Yep.
Take one thing you want and just lock in and just be the best version of yourself. Maximize every single opportunity you get because his death showed you that you don't know when your time is up.
Right.
Only God determines when your time is up. So you do not know. For all we know, you're sleeping tonight. You're dead tomorrow. Like I'm pretty sure. Cause think about it, Kobe. The day before Kobe died, LeBron had just passed his record against Philly,
Right.
and his last Instagram post was congratulating him.
Yep.
I don't think Kobe thought the next day that was going to be his last day on the earth.
No,
Nope.
not even close.
I don't think his daughter thought that I'm going to die with my dad up in this helicopter. And you got to remember too, Kobe Bryant was known for taking helicopters
Mm-hmm.
because everyone knows that LA traffic on the highway is ridiculous. You think Toronto's bad, LA is it's a
It's a
hundred times worse.
nightmare.
So Kobe mastered it and started doing helicopters. So he's done that his whole career.
Mm-hmm.
So just seeing that he died like that, like I said, like he would have never thought on January 25th, this is gonna be my last night on earth.
No.
And it goes back to what I'm saying, maximize your potential for as long as you can because you don't know when it's gonna be
Just,
taken from you.
just work to be, just get a little bit better every single day. Just
That's
even
it.
if it's 1% better, just work towards that goal. Pick your thing and be the best version of yourself while you do it. And some days you're going to have bigger successes. Some days you're going to have smaller. Just keep working towards the goal. Be you. Stay true to who you are. Don't worry about what anybody else says. And just work to be the best version of yourself. Whatever, like you said, writing, skateboarding, anything it is that you enjoy and are good at, run with it. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
I agree.
While we're on 2020, you got to get thoughts on the boycotts from last week and the significance of that. So, some back info for anybody who doesn't know already. August 26th, 2016, Colin Kaepernick was first photographed sitting for the anthem. He had done it all preseason, but that's when first made waves and everybody kind of grabbed it, ran with it, and kind of ostracized him at the same time. And 4 years to the day, August 26, 2020, NBA, WNBA, MLS, and MLB all saw boycotts in protest of police brutality, oppression of black people and persons of color in America. When you obviously the Raptors were talking about it initially to boycott game one against the Celtics.
Right.
The Bucks were the first team to boycott a game. When you saw that happen, what went through your mind when you first heard that the Bucks actually boycott their game against the Magic?
Well, first of all, I just want to say, like, seeing that, especially being like a basketball player and a black athlete, I was so proud of the NBA players for taking a stand.
Mm-hmm.
But to answer your question, when I saw that, I was extremely shocked because I knew the Raptors were talking about
Mm-hmm.
boycotting game one against Celtics, which was supposed to be the next day,
Yep.
the 27th. So when I was at the gym, and then all of a sudden someone told me the Bucks boycotted the game, and I was like, whoa, like that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
And then seeing it coincide with the same day that Colin Kaepernick started his stance to show about the police brutality and just racial injustice in America, obviously in Canada, but doesn't matter.
No, it's everywhere. Yep.
Yes. So just seeing that, it was eye opening, and I think it was exactly what we needed at that moment because I remember every day I watch a show on Fox Sports One called Skip and Shannon Undisputed, and
Mm-hmm.
I have so much respect for Shannon Sharp because I love the way he talks because he's so wise,
Mm-hmm.
and he's always talking about we're tired of the symbolic gestures, like we're tired of
Right.
seeing people take down Confederate flags, we're tired of seeing monuments coming down, we're tired of people renaming schools, like
Mm-hmm.
tired. I want to speak from my experience. I am personally tired of seeing people say, "We hear you, we understand you,
Mm-hmm.
we're with you."
Mm-hmm.
like well, I'm not racist, like I'm for you, like I understand, I want to help.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it comes to a point where lip service is not enough,
Right.
and it's not enough.
It's not even
Like
close.
I'm just tired of seeing people say we hear you, but you're not, and we're telling you what we want,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not helping us.
Yeah.
And seeing the Bucks boycott, it was basically saying, since you guys love what we do and you love to get entertainment from us, we're gonna stop
Mm-hmm.
and we're gonna make this message and we're all know exactly what we want.
Yeah.
Want change. And I think doing that was the perfect, was at that moment. I know it was erratic, but I think it was the only thing at that time that could be done to get the message.
Right.
Because it goes back to Kyrie Irving originally not wanting to go in the bubble.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of NBA players, like obviously Raptors guard Fred VanVleet, not wanting to go in the bubble because they
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to take the focus off everything going on in the world right now. They don't want this to be a distraction. This is the first time in history where everybody, every race is, every TV is about this.
Yep.
Everyone is forced to watch because everything is shut down.
Mm-hmm.
This is a golden opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously they decided to do the bubble, and they continuously did everything in their power to try to continue the conversation, continue
Yep.
to have the spotlight. With the slogans like say our names, the commercial at the first game with
Even
obviously
even
NBA.
press conferences too, right? When they ask questions in press conferences and they don't even answer basketball related, it's always focused on the message and just the conversation and the fight and Breonna Taylor and George Floyd and
And now
the
Jacob
list.
Blake
The list is Jacob Blake. The list is
is growing.
far too long, and the fact that it's still growing is this is why they boycott, because like you said, people say that they hear you, they understand. For one, we will never understand. Myself as a white male, I will never understand what black people or pure persons of color are going through. To say that we understand is a lie right off the bat, because we will never understand. And to say we hear you is one thing. To say there's a difference between hearing and listening.
Yes,
If you're listening, you're trying to understand. If you're hearing, you're not really, you're just kind of there, in my opinion. So those two things right there, to say I hear you, I understand, it's a lie right off the bat.
I agree. Like it's just, and I always heard about this. Like hearing is basically like when you're kind of focusing. Listening is like I said, like listening, you're locking in. Like
Mm-hmm. You're
nothing
focused.
matters. Like what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying, you are 100% focused on what I'm trying to tell you.
Yep.
This is what goes back to the black community. What we're trying to tell you, this racial injustice that's going on, this systematic oppression, the police brutality is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I'm tired of people saying, I hear you. Well, clearly you don't hear me because
Right.
like you've probably followed the trends. Like people obviously everyone posted like Blackout Tuesday,
Mm-hmm.
and then I never heard from you again.
Right.
Like where are you now? Like Blackout Tuesday was back in June. It's
Yeah.
August.
Yep.
Like people were posting when it was a trend for George Floyd. People were
Right.
posting when it was a trend for Breonna Taylor.
Yep.
Well, now Jacob Blake's going on, and now all of a sudden people are starting to create votes again, create posts again.
Mm-hmm.
So where were you between June 2nd, which was
Block
Blackout
it.
Tuesday,
Yep.
to August 26th? Like where were you?
Mm-hmm.
And this was going back to like I'm tired of people saying we hear you. No, we want you to listen
Yep.
and help us take action.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is all it comes down to. We can't ignite change without action.
Right.
And I'm tired. It's just super. As a black person, it's just super frustrating to continuously see. And it goes back to like one of the slogans in the NBA jersey. How many more?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the fact that we have to ask that question, like how many more, it just shows you how little people we've come as a nation. If we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about America specifically, from 1619 to 2020.
Yeah, it to me. I think they look the exact same, and you've had 400 years to change, and I don't think we're nowhere closer to where things should be from then until now. I don't think.
Yeah, and just I remember I was with my dad a couple weeks ago at his house, and I remember the song "Changes" by Tupac came on,
Mm-hmm.
and just hearing the message. And I promise you, I looked at him and said, "This song came out in 1998.
Yep.
I wasn't even born yet. My older brother was 6, going on 7.
Mm-hmm.
I was born 2000. This song came out 2 years before I was born, 2 years after Tupac obviously got killed.
Mm-hmm.
It's 2020, and if that song dropped today, that song would still be relevant from every single lyric he says in that song.
Yeah.
Like, especially the beginning, I see no changes. Wake up in the morning, I ask myself, like we still see no change, and that's the crazy thing. Like, just going back to obviously like the civil rights movement till now, like we've made baby steps, but like we're not making the giant steps that we need.
No. And
Like, which is the crazy thing. Like, especially someone like, for example, like with basketball, like Bill Russell, who's gone through it all. Remember playing for Boston,
mm-hmm.
and which Boston is notoriously known for being racist, and
Mm-hmm.
how old he is, and he still doesn't see the changes. Like, it's 2020, and he still doesn't see the changes, which is just crazy. And it makes you ask the question: will this world ever change? Will Black people finally be looked at as equal? Like, will the systematic oppression that has been going on for centuries be done? Will the police brutality towards unarmed Black men finally end? And it just doesn't give you any hope because it keeps happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like George Floyd happened, Breonna Taylor happened, which for everyone knows, her killers are still not in jail. Like, you went into her home, the
Mm-hmm.
wrong home, you murdered her, and there's still not no justice. It just makes you think, like, will Black people ever get the justice we deserve? Will we ever be seen as equal? Will we finally ever get the opportunities that we deserve? Will we ever get the equal rights that I'm pretty sure every country's constitution enables people to have?
Mm-hmm.
And it just doesn't give us any hope that things are going to change. I'm obviously hopeful and as a believer in God, and just hoping that things will finally change.
Mm-hmm.
But just seeing this whole year and just the things going on, and the thing though too is, like I said, with COVID, like everything's now seen clearly.
Yep.
As a 2020 vision, like everything, and maybe that was the purpose of the year that
Mm-hmm.
God had. 2020, everyone's gonna see clearly what is going on, what's wrong with the world, how we're treating each other, and how we need to change it.
Yep.
And I hope everyone who's listening to this podcast realizes that we need to change. We need to change how we see each other, how we treat each other, how we think about each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for when it comes to me, like I don't care, especially playing sports where it's different races, blacks, white, Latino, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what color you are.
Mm-hmm.
It goes back to what Martin Luther King Jr. said, where he says, "I have a dream that one day I will not be judged by the color of my skin, but the content of my character." Mm-hmm. And that's why I try to live, and how my parents raised me. Like, I don't care if you're black or white. If you treat me with respect, I'm going to treat you with respect. I don't care what color you are.
Right.
And it's just sad that people do, in the reverse way, people don't want to think like that. People don't want to give a person of a different color an opportunity to get to know them. They already have preconceived notions.
Right.
For what? You don't know me.
No. And I think that's one of the things that is going to be the toughest change, is changing those years, centuries of bias and stereotypes that people hold, and that's in their family. That's like, I was always brought up the same way as you, like, treat someone how you'd want to be treated, and I try to live that every day. I mean, I don't obviously I know that I've benefited from my skin color growing up, whether I knew it or not at the time. It's probably naive to it, and the fact that there are still people in 2020 that use those predetermined bias and stereotypes without having met somebody, and forming an opinion before you meet someone is, to me, it's ludicrous. It doesn't make sense to me. And like, I struggled for 2 or 3 months to figure out what to say on Black Lives Matter. And to me, it words like you said too, and everybody posted when it was trendy. This isn't a trend. This is
Not a movement either. Like, I know people say, not to cut you off, but people always say Black Lives Matter movement. It's not a movement. It's a way of
no,
life.
it is. And this isn't something you post on Instagram when
It's convenient.
someone dies, or just because everyone else is, just so you can look like you're a part of the solution. You doing that to be trendy is a part of the problem. You just doing it just because you think it's what you should do, or everyone else is doing it, I'm going to do it too just to fit in. No. This needs to be a continuous dialogue, conversation. Needs to be continuous change. You need to put your words into action. They need to be deliberate actions. You can't just wear a t-shirt and say you're supporting it. You're not. If you're just wearing a shirt, you're not supporting it. If you're not putting change behind your actions, I don't know. I don't get it. And if any of that was wrong, I apologize.
No.
Basically, put your words into action and make it deliberate action, deliberate change. And I think a lot of, I've like looking at the sports being boycott online, people saying people need to shut up and dribble, shut up and play. Like, this isn't going to change anything. It's not going to change it overnight. I think that's more than understood by the athletes, the players, the coaches, the teams, everybody involved. I think they understand that boycotting a game on the 26th of August is not going to create racial equality on the 27th of August.
Right.
I think that's understood.
Right.
But it's a long game that we need to take those steps. And August 26th is a step towards getting racial equality to where it should be and should have been for many years. If you go in with this isn't going to change anything, you're again part of the problem. Just shut up. You're not helping. This is a long game. It's understood. It's not going to happen overnight. And you need to put those words into action. And the NBA players, WNBA players, MLB players put their words into action. And you saw the Bucks, they had conversations with legislation in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Who admitted they hadn't met in months, which is leading to change. And now they're making progress in Wisconsin. That's what is going to happen. It's not going to happen overnight. And people need to get that out of their heads, that this isn't going to help, because it is helping. The conversation is at the forefront. Don't post on Instagram because you think it's trendy. You're better off not posting at all if you're not going to be a consistent advocate for change. If you're just going to post it because it's a social media trend, explicit off is what I have to say to you.
Yeah, and I just really want to say thank you for saying that. Like, it's totally necessary, especially from a perspective of a white man.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to say this too, though, for anybody in the white community that's listening. If you have Black friends and Black allies, and like you don't know, you want to help, but you don't know where to start, don't hesitate to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think the misconception is that people are scared to ask because 2020 with everything is so heightened, so people are so sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
If one of my white friends comes and asks me, I want to be part of the movement, what can I do to help?
Yep.
I'm not going to take offense to that. And I really urge people to do the same thing, because there's nothing wrong with asking. It's the same thing with there's nothing wrong with asking for help. If
Right.
you want to be a part of it and you don't know where to start, and like I said, in terms of what you said with the trending, like if you don't want to be part of the trend and come off fake and all that stuff, then ask someone what can you do to help.
Hmm.
Whether it's you can go educate yourself on stuff. So when the moment comes and you need to back, your black friends up or your black counterparts, whatever, you have the opportunity to do that.
Hmm.
Whether it's just listening or in terms of going to being part of an organization, maybe just getting as much information as you can, whether just asking them, what your experiences of being a black person. Like, I know, and like you said, you'll never understand, but let me at
Not even
least
close.
let me at least hear your side so I can try to understand and try to relate this to other people, because I always think so too. Is sometimes the message is better coming from another point of view. Like sometimes if I say what it's like, um, if I say something, to other people, people might think, oh, it's whatever. But then if someone else says it,
Hmm.
it's a whole different look at the same message. So I just think that if people like I said, the white community, if you guys just allow it doesn't matter. Like you guys can ask,
Hmm.
just ask.
Yep.
Like I know 2020 is super sensitive, and people get offensive and all that stuff. But when it comes to asking what you can do to help,
Hmm.
there's no shame in that.
No.
And I hope people hear this and really take that to heart. There's no shame in asking, like your black friends or just people the black counterparts, like, what can I do to help? Like anything you need from me, just tell me what you want me to do.
And I
And
think
just
too,
go from there.
for the white community, whether male, female, it's going to be an adjustment. I think because we don't understand, we never will understand. So as you try to educate yourself and try to listen, not hear, listen. And as you try to help where you can or however you can, know that you're probably going to make a mistake. And I think if you acknowledge your mistake and say, this is what I was trying to say, the mistakes are going to happen. Where nobody is ever perfect. If that's how you learn, if you make a mistake and people are going to call you out on it, they're going to correct you on it. Don't be so sensitive to being called out for a mistake you made. Learn from it, apologize, own up, say, this is what I was trying to get at. This is what you said. This is what you should have said. Okay, great. I think it was Stan Van Gundy on Twitter the other day said blacks with an S at the end, which you don't say. And he apologized. He was called out for it and apologized right away. He's like, I didn't intend any disrespect. Now you know. It's black males, black community, whatever. Now you understand how you proceed for the future. He didn't get offended, apologized for his mistake, acknowledged that he was in the wrong, and now he can continue forward. That's all it takes. And we need to have that peaceful dialogue, because that's how we will get, as a white male, that's how I will get any sliver of understanding. Because again, like I said, I'll never understand, and I will never claim to understand what black, indigenous, persons of color have gone through, because I will never understand that to full scope. But acknowledge your mistakes. They're going to happen. We're human. Learn from it. Continue on. Don't make the same mistake again. But if you get called out on it, just don't overreact and just own up to it. Acknowledge it, learn, and continue to be part of the solution. Don't create another problem that doesn't need to be happen. Doesn't need to happen.
I agree. I agree 100%.
If that made any sense, I don't know. It sounded
I,
like it came out, and then I
I
just
agree. No,
kept
I really
spinning.
agree. No, I agree. Like it's like you said, like everyone's gonna make mistakes. Like this whole just the whole way we move, like nobody's perfect. And like I said, it's really important not to overreact, because
Right.
people, this is the thing about people. People can have their hearts in the right place, and sometimes people make the mistakes the way they present the message, and it
Mm-hmm.
comes out wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Don't overreact.
Yep.
Just have a conversation and say, okay, what did you mean exactly? And that's the question I need to ask
Right.
people. When people say something, what do you mean?
Hmm.
And it goes both ways.
Yep.
It's the same thing like when you try to, if a white person tries to ask us, in terms of like, people's, if I say, my experience of being black, so okay, so what do you mean? Like it goes both ways. Like it's like if you say something that didn't come out right, I'm just gonna ask you, what do you mean?
Hmm.
Rather than me spazzing on saying, oh, you're racist, you don't care.
Right.
Like it
Hmm.
doesn't solve anything. If anything, it just drifts us more apart, and you're losing an ally and someone
Yep.
who's trying to help you and
Right.
is trying to be there for you. So it's just really important, like you said, that everyone's gonna make mistakes, but don't overreact. It's
No.
not gonna be part of the issue. It's not gonna help.
No. It's just going to throw more gas on the fire that doesn't need to be there, and
Exactly.
it could have all been solved by peaceful
Simple
conversation
conversation.
and just and like you said, don't be afraid to ask how you can help be a part of change, because as soon as a white person claims they understand, you're lying through your teeth right from the start. Like, don't even bring that nonsense. It's like a screen door. You can see right through it. Like, don't even, just listen and be a part of the solution. Don't make things worse. Don't fan the fire. Don't overreact. Just listen, help where you can. Obviously, everybody's ability to help is going to be a little bit different. Help within your means, help where you feel comfortable, but help. And if you're not sure, just ask. I know I've asked. I'll continue to ask and educate yourself. Just read, listen, have the tough conversations, because that's how we're going to grow. And we need to grow side by side with the Black community. We can't grow off to the left, off to the right. We can't go backwards. We need to go side by side together to meet at the middle to where equality should have been for years. We're not going to get there on our own. We're not going to get there by alienating the Black community anymore. Needs to be side by side, hand in hand, help each other get to where we want to be. I hope I'm
Yeah.
like you. I'm hopeful. Like I think 2020 is the year we needed to have. Like you said, put everything into focus with COVID shutting the world down. It all came to the limelight, and I hope there's change that comes from this. And I know it's not going to be overnight. It's not going to be in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Just we need to take that little steps every day to get to where they should have been long before now. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
Before we move on to Nipissing and your basketball career, I do have to ask at the U Sports and CCAA level. Obviously, you mentioned Canada, where it's not as magnified as it is in the States, but racism still exists everywhere. What would you like to see done at that level? There's been releases and statements from schools, and I think the organizations as a whole have been kind of quiet on the the racial injustice front. Sorry, what would you like to see done at that level to try and provide more of a voice to the Black community, the Black athletes that we have up here in Canada?
Okay. I think what we can do, I'll say this though, as they always say, the most important power you can have is education.
Hmm.
I think the first step we have to do is educate ourselves,
Right.
because there's no power in what you say if you don't have the facts behind it. So I
Hmm.
think the very first thing that everyone has to do in all levels and all parties is to educate yourself as much as you can.
Hmm.
Have as much knowledge of this subject as you can, so that when you come up with the plan, whatever it is, that you have the most facts behind it and you can combat any person that tries to refute it, tries to say, What are you talking about? Like,
Mm-hmm.
just educate yourself. The second thing I'd probably say is, I mean, I've been talking about this with my school a lot, like I said, in terms of education, but a lot of like the Toronto schools, like Toronto has a lot of media resources.
Right.
You can like, if you can try to get the news, or if you can make your own videos that you can post. Like, I know the thing about OUA TV is that during half times and stuff, they always post commercials.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe the athletes can come together and create a video, and during halftime
Mm-hmm.
at OUA TV, people are watching. It's basically the same thing the NBA did, and that's what I've been
Right.
talking about in my own school in terms of, get all the athletes together, black, white, and whatever, and we just make one big video and just post it as much social media platform as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, using social media to really put it out there, and because that's the biggest thing though compared from back then to now. Like, could you imagine back in like the '60s if there was social media around?
Whew.
Like, could you imagine
It's
like the
good.
power? Think about it. Martin Luther King was impacting people with his voice. Same with Malcolm X. Same with Rosa Parks. Could you imagine back then there was social media to put that all in the atmosphere and put that in the platform that
That
these people
would
could have?
like social media's reach is endless. Like that would have been a game changer for them.
Exactly. So I just think also using social media, using all the media you have. But
Mm-hmm.
once again, this all goes back to educating yourself. I think the most simple thing that we could do before we get to any of that point, because obviously we're projected to come back in January, but you
Mm-hmm.
never know what's going to happen, right? So
Right.
I think that the thing that anybody can do right now, that everybody has the ability to do right now, is
Mm-hmm.
to educate yourself.
Right.
Get as much knowledge as you can, so that you can help, you can present it, you can just be a part of any initiative that when it comes to the forefront, you can start, you can be a part of it. You don't have to just be a bystander in the back watching while other people are trying to ignite change.
Right.
Educate yourself and give yourself the opportunity to be a part of the change. Because I do know that there are a lot of people that do want to be part of the change. And it goes back to what I said earlier, where if you don't know, just ask.
Yep.
Well, an answer I'm going to give to you right now is educate yourself.
Yep.
That's one simple answer. Just educate yourself.
Yep. And like the OUA did have the Black, Biracial, and Indigenous Task Force that did two town halls, I think. That was really about it. All I've heard from that. They were supposed to take place on the 12th and 13th of August. There haven't been any updates since. So I don't know if they're going to release what was discussed. I hope they do. Again, education standpoint to understand where coaches, players, administrative members, whoever. There's the Black Canadian Coaches Association created by Leanna Osei out at St. FX. So there are resources now coming to light and helping with that education piece. I think there's still a long way to go. And I think, like you said, education is the biggest way for the white community to understand or to even get close to understanding what is happening because it's not what we experience. So, in order to understand or get to that understanding, you need to educate, and that's how you can help by educating, learning what's going on and how you can help and what is effective help to create that effective change that we all should be striving for, not just the Black community. We, as white males and females, should want this change just as much. But sadly, there's some that still like to have their privilege, and those people need to check themselves in the mirror and have that tough conversation with themselves real quick, or this isn't going to go anywhere.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes you got to have those tough conversations with yourself in the mirror and realize that this isn't the world you want to live in. It shouldn't be, anyways. If it is, you've got your priorities all sorts of out of whack, and somebody deserves to knock you in the head and wake you up a little bit.
Yeah, like I think the one question they can ask yourself in the mirror is like, am I doing enough?
Yeah.
Like, one thing I always like to say and think to myself is, be part of the change that you want to see.
Right.
So by living by that, look in the mirror and ask yourself, am I doing enough?
Yeah.
And it can go both ways. It can be for anything. Again, it's like am I doing enough, like I said, to maximize my potential? Or in this case, am I doing enough to be part of the change that I want to see?
Mm-hmm.
If you want everyone to be like equal, and if you want everyone to have equal opportunities, am I doing enough to help with that?
Yep.
And if you could say yes, then congratulations. If you say no, then you know what you gotta do.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing you gotta do is educate yourself.
Yep.
Give yourself the opportunity to be a part of the change, because no one wants someone to be part of the change that doesn't know what they're talking about. Because the moment that there's false information put out there and we're supposed to be unilateral front,
Mm-hmm.
that's when cracks can come in. Because that's when people who oppose it can come in and refute that, because you're saying one thing, this person saying another. But if everyone's educated, if everyone has the same facts, if everyone's on the equal level playing field in terms of how much they know about this case and what they can do to help, then there will be change, and there'll just be positivity moving forward, and
Yep.
that's it.
That's all we need, is just we need positivity moving forward to get to that change, and you're not going to do it on your own. It needs to, like you said, unilateral front, everybody educating, understanding, on the same playing field, and that's how we're going to move. As soon as, like you said, false information gets out there and we are taking one step forward, two steps back, and just going the wrong direction.
Exactly.
Shifting gears to Nipissing. Not just finished, I guess. Finished up your first year last year. What was the biggest adjustment for you going from high school ball to the OUA? What was the biggest adjustment for you in that transition?
I think the biggest adjustment for that transition, I think it was basically like how much time you really have to put in a day to be a student athlete. Like obviously when you're in high school, you have a set schedule from 8:30 whatever to 3 p.m. You have one practice, you go home. When you're in university, like sometimes you can have a class early as 8 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you can have a class as late as 9 p.m., which is
Yep.
what I've had before.
Those
So
those night classes are the worst. I have to throw
yeah,
that out there. They are the worst.
especially when you know you have practice after, which is what I dealt with first semester.
See, I've never had to do that. We had a 7 to 10 3-hour Wednesday night class. I never had practice afterwards, so I was able to go home. I I uh,
Yeah,
I, I struggled through those, let alone knowing I had to do something else afterwards. No, thank you.
yeah. So I just think the first thing was just getting comfortable and getting used to how much time a day you have to put into being a student athlete. Because when I was at high school, it was just you do your 8 to 3, and then you have one practice, you go
Yep.
home. And
Yep.
sometimes throughout the week, you have practice maybe 3 times a week, because at the beginning of the school year there's volleyball going on, so the volleyball has the permit. There's soccer going on. There's cross country. There's other sports going on at the time. When you're
Right.
in university, like everything is focused on your sport.
Yep.
Like the university does a great job of like planning. Okay, volleyball teams can practice this time, basketball team practice this time every single day. It's not like volleyball team gets Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, basketball team gets Tuesdays and Thursdays. No, every
Right.
team practices every single day.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think getting used to the load of university compared to how much time a day you have to put in towards being a student athlete. Because the first semester, Mondays and Wednesdays, we had weights.
Oh,
And
okay.
like for my weights was 1 p.m. every Mondays and Wednesdays, first semester. And then we had practice.
Ooh.
Tuesdays and Thursdays was on court. So basically we do skill development.
Yeah.
So this is high school. It'd just be 8 to 3, practice, go home.
Yeah.
Now I have to spend a lot of time my day going to class, finding a small time to eat and do my homework, then go to
Right.
weight first on court, go to class again, eat again, have another class sometimes, and then
Jeez.
go to practice.
Yeah.
So just getting used to how much how much hours in a day that is actually focused on basketball and being a student athlete in university. So that was probably the biggest adjustment. And it took me a while. I'm
I
not gonna
think
lie.
I think that's one of the things that people overlook about the student athlete life is the time commitment that it takes. Like I was just a student. Like and there were days that I forgot to eat. I can only imagine if you're going class, weights, class, practice, whatever else. And some people may try to work a part-time job on top of it all. Yeah, something's going to get left behind, and whether it's social life, eating, sleep, whatever. I left that behind as a student, and I didn't have practice. Like I can't even imagine that. And like high school, I don't think doesn't even come close to preparing you for that. It's so structured. The bell rings, you go from one class to the next. You have your lunch every day, set time, practice, go home, you're done. College, university, not even close. And
Sundays you might not even have classes. So like, what do
right,
you do with your time that day? Like, you have all this free time. Like, what are you
right,
gonna do? And as an
right.
athlete, you gotta use that time to do your homework.
Yeah,
Like the only
and
time in high school you might not have class is if it's a PA day, which is a
yep,
Friday. And if you're really lucky, if it's like a long weekend, then you get Friday and Monday.
yeah.
But
Those
other
are
than
the
that, everyone's schedule is different. So it's just about managing your time.
mhm.
Because like I said, for a student, you get the time, you get to go home, have your dinner, you have free time, you do your homework. For some people are eating their dinner, hanging out with their friends. We're at practice
Right.
every single day.
Yep. You see guys come into the gym with like their takeout containers from the cafeteria trying to eat as they walk down the halls because that's their like 15-minute window that they have to eat before practice starts, or just
Yeah.
trying to eat wherever you can. And like I work at Lambton in the OCAA, you see it with the guys all the time going to class, like they're walking the halls with food, and you find a way to eat or else you're going to starve, and you don't want that.
Yeah. And you
But
lose weight.
real
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah. Because you already lose weight throughout the season because you're playing, you're running a lot. So just
Mm-hmm.
imagine top of not eating.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good.
It's not good at all. It's not a good combination. And then, like you said, you get the days off, and then that's when you catch up on everything you missed: homework, sleep, just whatever. And then you still got your practice, so you still have to come in to campus at whether it's 1 o'clock for your weights or whatever time your practice is at night. Like it's a balance that I don't think a lot of people on the outside really understand. I think they see the end result on the court and think, oh, this is pretty sweet. They don't see the
Or the behind the scenes.
4 or 5 days of the week going to class, running to eat, the struggles to get like the weight room, the practices. They just see the Friday, Saturday, Thursday, Saturday OUA games, and that's all they see. They don't see the hours of struggle, the 4 hours of sleep that you might get because you're up late doing homework for an assignment. You have an 8 a.m. class. There's so much that goes into the student athlete life that people don't see in high school, just fails to prepare you for on every level whatsoever.
I agree, and like it just goes it's anything really in terms of like not seeing the behind the scenes. It's anything like for example, like even this, like we're right now we're doing a Four Quarters Media podcast, but
Yep.
no one knows the behind the scenes work, how much work it took for you to get to this point, for
Right.
how much work it took for you to get all these people following you. It's anything. It's the same with like you said, basketball and volleyball. Like you see us on the court playing, but you don't know how much hours we put in practicing. You don't know how much hours you put in the weight room, how much hours you put in when we don't have those times and we're still getting extra shots up,
Right.
or we're getting like an extra lift in, or we're going to study hall making sure that our grades are good so we don't
Right.
um
Forgot about study hall. Yep.
academically ineligible, right? It's because we used to have study hall first semester like on basically every day. So people don't see, they just see, we get the free gear and like, get the
Right.
jersey and all that stuff. Yeah, it's fun, it's cool and all, but it's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
We do obviously love it because that's why we do it, but it don't get it twisted. It's a lot of work being a student athlete, especially if you're one of the best. If you're the best player and you're playing 35 minutes a game, because you also got to make sure you're in the tip top shape to be playing 35 minutes a game. And what does
Mm-hmm.
that require? A lot of unseen hours, a lot of lifting weights, a lot of extra shots, but also making sure that your grades are good because you don't want to put all this time playing basketball, volleyballs, hockey, whatever, and
Yep.
your grades are suffering.
Yep.
Because trust me, when it comes to university, it's not like high school where, yeah, they'll be a little lenient with you. If you fail a class, you can do credit recovery and all that stuff.
Mm-mm.
University, you fail a class, especially if you're a student athlete, you're not playing.
Nope. Like
Like there's no ifs buts about it. Like the athletic director come and tell your coach, okay, this person just failed a class. And it's not like high school to say, okay, we'll work with you, get you some help. No, like once you fail, like that's it.
yep.
So it's that balance that you have to, as a student athlete, you got to make sure that you have. And everyone on the team this year did a really great job of that. Like we had no problems with that whatsoever. Like
Hmm.
everyone came in locked in, focused, ready to work every single day. So it's just a testament to how disciplined our team was
Yeah.
this year that we didn't have to deal with any of those problems. No academic ineligibility, no outside problems or indoor problems. Like everyone was locked in, focused, knew what we were here for, and came into work every day. And obviously, we didn't go as far as we wanted to,
Hmm.
but at least the foundation was set by our coach. Because our coach, before every practice, we have to hit a hard hat, and it goes back to the story with his dad. It's just about working hard, and
Okay.
that applies to all things. Just working hard in the on the court, working hard in the weight room, working hard in the classroom. Like the foundation was set from day one
Hmm.
that if you're going to be a part of this program, you are going to come in here and work. And that's and the thing though he preaches about too is like I want to. It's not about basketball for me. It's about making sure you become better men.
Right.
And
I think.
that's what I really appreciate about my coach. It's just about making sure that everyone is on the right path to not just become a better basketball player, obviously, because that's what we're here. We're here to try to win.
Hmm.
But when you graduate from the school, that you are a better person for it.
Right.
Being a better person starts off with being disciplined.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to say. And then you threw it in there. I don't think people understand the discipline it takes to succeed academically and athletically at the exact same time. Like you have to be disciplined every single day from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep. Like you are on a schedule. Like you are ready to go from start to finish, and then the next day you restart, and that's it's a grind. I don't even know. I don't even know how else to say it, and that's just from the outside perspective. Like it's, but on the flip side of that, then what was the most enjoyable part of your first year? Obviously, the toughest being the transition, and obviously the time it takes. What was the most enjoyable part of your first university season?
I think the most enjoyable part of my first season was just the team chemistry.
Okay.
Like everyone in our team absolutely loved being around each other. Like there'll be times after practice where our practices will end probably 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
We don't leave until like 11:15 because we're just in the change room just talking about just anything.
Okay.
Like just being a part of a team that really, even when like we're losing and like stuff's not going well, like we're still like there for each other. Like we still like being around each other. Like you can never like not see us like in the cafeteria and not see us together.
Right.
Like if people obviously sometimes with university people have classes at different times,
Mm-hmm.
but if we're all in the cafeteria and we all see each other, we're gonna sit together.
Right.
Like it's not gonna be this person sits here, this person sits there. No, like if we see each other, we're gonna dab each other up, say, yo, let's go get something to eat.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most enjoyable thing too of being a part of this team, which is how much everyone liked each other. And it just started from like the veterans like starting that because they made it a priority to make sure that everyone was included and everyone was inclusive into any team events we did. Like the first thing we did at the beginning of the year, we did an escape room.
Okay.
And that was a lot of fun. Like we've also done like bowling with the girls team. Like we just do stuff like that just to hang out and just get to know each other. So I think that was the most enjoyable part of my first year was just building those relationships for hopefully if it's 2 years if people graduate like next year
Right.
or my rookie class, like we're together for the next 4 or 5 years, like
Mm-hmm.
just building those relationships with everybody that was a part of the program this year and a part of the school. Like I think that was my most enjoyable part of my rookie season, was just building those relationships for years to come.
Which team's the better team at bowling, the men's or the women's?
I'm not gonna lie. There's some girls that can bowl. I'm not gonna lie. I was not good. I was not very good, but there were some girls on the team that could really, really bowl. I'm not gonna lie.
And did you guys make it?
It's a
Did
toss-up.
Did you make it out of the escape room in time?
No, and the crazy thing too is we specifically, my group had the hardest one. Like when we came out, each escape room has like a percentage of like completion. I think ours was like, yeah, if I'm not mistaken, like 14% completion percentage.
Jeez.
Like we got it pretty far. We got to the last level, but when it finished and they told us like what we would have had to do is like, okay, we're not figuring this out.
Not even.
but just the experience and just like working together and trying to
Right.
come out, like it was just a lot of fun.
I've only done one in my life, and it was a work kind of like team building thing, and we got stuck in the hardest
Yeah.
room. Like we were randomly assigned the hardest room, and somehow we ended up skipping a clue. Like, I don't know how we figured out one clue, but it gave us, it wasn't supposed to happen that way. We kind of skipped one in the middle, so we ended up making it out. But they're like, yeah, you, I guess, ended up missing one key, and we're like, what do you mean? Like, we got to the end, like, we're out. They're like, you're supposed to do this instead, and we're like, yeah, we would have been stuck in the middle. We'd have been the last ones there, would have closed with us in there. Like, we had no clue, and we're just pressing buttons trying to figure it out. And sure enough, here we are in the hardest room, cheating our way out. But again, as long as they see the end product that we made it out, that's the only time I care, that they don't see the hard work behind the scenes. We somehow finagled our way to a hardest escape room win, but we had no business being there. We had none whatsoever.
That's fun.
We struggled.
We chose our room. Like, everyone got to choose which one we were in, so we chose ours. So we didn't know it was the least successful one, but oh well, we still had fun.
As long as you have fun, I think that's all that matters. And I mean, you can look back now and laugh at it, but I don't know if I would ever choose the hard one again, because that was too stressful. I'm too competitive for that, and I don't. If we didn't have that somehow cheat to win, I would have probably yelled at somebody. I think, I don't know. I'm aggressive when it comes to that. Why did you choose Nipissing? Coming from Scarborough, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Why did you choose Nipissing? What was it that led you to be a Laker?
So the craziest thing, though, is I think a lot of people know this by now. I was originally going to commit to Algoma.
Okay.
Coach Thomas Corey, who's at Nipissing now, he was originally at Algoma.
Mm-hmm.
So after I finished my prep season, he was starting talking to me, and we were building that relationship for about 4 months, from April to July.
Okay.
Texting every other day and came to my practices and so on and so forth. So I applied to Algoma, got in, and then Coach called me the next day after I applied, and he said, Taijon, I got the job at Nipissing. I'm just thinking to myself, Coach, I just applied to Algoma, but then he told me on the phone, but I want you to come with me. So I said, okay. And I had one other offer that came super late, to Brandon University, which is in Manitoba.
Yeah.
But the biggest reason why I chose my coach is because how comfortable he made my parents. My dad's a basketball guy, so my dad, it doesn't really matter where I go and all that stuff in terms of as long as I'm playing basketball, he's okay with that.
Yeah.
My mom, when he was able to make my mom feel comfortable over the phone and in person, that's when I knew, okay, this is the one for me. Because I was never worried about my dad. I was worried about my mom because, I'm her youngest child, leaving home and all that stuff. So I just wanted to make sure that wherever I went, that she knew that I would be okay.
Right.
And I think my Coach Corey giving my mom that, that comfort to know that I would be okay. I think that's what really was okay, I'm definitely gonna come. I'm coming here.
Yeah, moms seem to know best, and once they're comfortable, like you said, if you're the youngest, as soon as they're comfortable, you're in a right spot. And from everything I've heard about Coach Corey, seems like a fantastic stand-up dude, and
tremendous.
I mean, like you said, from the hard work, from the hard hat to just making your parents feel comfortable, I think. And from what I hear, Nipissing's a nice campus too. So, never been to North Bay. I need to get there, but from what I hear, it's nice. I don't know if it's cold in the winter. I don't do well with cold.
It is very cold.
I don't do well with that. I'm a fair weather kind of guy, but I might be able to tough it out once in a while, maybe once. We'll see.
It's very cold, especially living in Toronto, where you experience all weather's possible. Rain, snow, hail. I'm used to it all. So North Bay was, when it came to weather, nothing to me.
You can get all 4 seasons in one day in southwestern Ontario. It is.
Tell me about it.
Ridiculous. I grew up in London, born and raised. We see it all. It sucks. You could go out in your full-on snowsuit in the morning and come home and you're walking home in a t-shirt and pants. It's crazy.
And then holding an umbrella after because it's raining.
Right, and you got an umbrella halfway home, and you forget it at home, and then it rains halfway, and you're like, "What the heck is this?" It snowed in the morning. It was sunny when I left, and now it's raining. and windy and cold. And then you scramble to put your jacket back on. And by the time you get home, it's hot again and you're sweating to death.
That's Canada for you. My mom always makes that joke. My mom and my dad, they're both Jamaican, so they both came from the West Indies like in the '70s. So my mom was always
Okay.
joking like, I'll never get used to the cold of this country. Like I'm
never,
used.
we never will
I'm,
either because you never know what's going to
I'm
happen.
used to. I'm used to it.
That's fair.
I'm used
Looking
to
ahead,
30 degrees.
yeah.
All that.
Looking ahead to next year or this year, I guess. Obviously, we mentioned January is the hopeful start of the year. Oh, again, hopeful that it actually happens. I don't know how leagues and schools are going to deal with all this, with again everything changing, and like we said before, we still don't know the full extent of COVID-19. What's been your focus in the off season to kind of build off last year and come into this year ready to go whenever you're able to get back on the floor again and practice and have games?
I think the biggest there's three things. So the first thing I want to say is my body. So obviously, like playing the post last year, obviously I was like 210. So playing against bigger guys in the league that were like 230, 240, just really I've been really focusing on this time period of like really building my body and
Okay.
just getting stronger and just really working on my cardio so I can play longer.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is obviously been my offensive skill set, just adding sets to my new game. So just trying to become a better shooter, working on my ball handling so I can attack off the dribble, working on some post game, working on my athleticism, so working on my dunking. So instead of doing a layup, I can just dunk the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the biggest thing that I've really been working on, that me and my trainer have really been working on and just challenging me to do, is my mentality. So
Mm-hmm.
I just think sometimes if I miss a couple shots, I get down on myself and just take myself out of the offense. So I think basically just really changing my mentality and just really trying to stay consistent and just really trying to my biggest goal is to really be as consistent as long as I can and be the best that I can for the longest period of time.
Mm-hmm.
My satisfaction would be at the end of the year if people can go to the change room and look at me and say, you know what you're getting from him today. Like, don't even worry about it. Like, you don't gotta give me a pep talk. You don't gotta see where my head's at. Like, what I really want for myself and for all my teammates to see is that you know what you're getting from him every single night.
Mm-hmm.
You don't gotta worry whether it's 20 points, whether it's 10 rebounds, whether it's a block, whatever it's you can get that intensity. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure that with my mindset, in terms of staying locked in, that every time you go on the court, like you know what you're getting at me. You know you can rely on me. And that's what I've been really focused on, just giving myself that mindset and also working on my skill set so that when the time comes and you need me to be there, whether if you need a bucket, you need a key stop, you need a rebound, you need a block shot, you need like someone to pass out the post or on the 45, like I can do that. So
I think the mental thing is a lot of like something that a lot of people have probably tried to work on and struggled with COVID, and obviously everything's shutting down and you're kind of left to your own thoughts. How have you kind of worked on, like, what are some of the things you've done to try and just work on your mindset and strengthen your mindset given the times we've been in? Because I think that's something that a lot of people have probably been in a similar situation to you. How have you kind of been able to combat being left to your own thoughts with COVID and try to strengthen that mindset the way you want it to be, I guess, essentially?
yeah, so I think one thing that my dad's always telling me to do is always try to watch like motivational videos. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, just people like, and I've been doing that for a couple of years now. I don't do it
Okay.
as often as I would like to,
Yeah.
but I have done it. So basically, just like watching more motivational videos, just try to get yourself, excited and like just anxious and just really just trying to like, just get you excited.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing too is like really just having those conversations. Like sometimes if my parents always tell me, listen, if anything's bothering you, just let me know. So I've
Mm-hmm.
talked to both parents like on many occasions of times where if I'm playing basketball in my conference and that thing, I'll tell them like it's even my training too, like I'll be telling them like I'm struggling, like every time I want to do something, there's a voice in my head telling me you can't. And I had this
Okay.
conversation with my dad and my trainer a couple weeks ago. Like I was playing runs and just anytime I want to do something, whether it was to go to the basket or try to cut where I know I can get a dunk or a layup, like something just it was like a stall. Like something just kept telling me like you can't.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember my mom was just telling me, you just gotta talk to yourself and just and it worked. Like I just kept telling myself, the devil's a liar. So every time now I start playing, I just say the devil's a liar because my parents always saying because they're so religious, basically saying like there's always going to be obstacles in your way. When people know that you're close to reaching your potential and people know the
Mm-hmm.
potential that, because a lot of people always say this about me, like when they look at me, they always say, there's so much that we see in you that you don't see in yourself. And I never really understood that. It's like people always tell me, you're going to go far,
Mm-hmm.
you have the tools to be successful. And I've always been driven. Like I always know what I want to do in
Mm-hmm.
terms of like, getting good grades and like going to school and all that stuff. But just realizing that there's always going to be obstacles coming my way, it's really opened my mind, especially this last year with the week before the season started, my grandmother passing was like a really big obstacle and like overcoming that. So just really um understanding that issues are gonna come. Like I remember like last week I heard on a call, like a Zoom call was on, someone said you everyone has issues, but if you make your issues an issue, you will always have an issue. So when I heard that, I'm like, that is so true.
That is true.
Everyone has issues, but he said emphatically, if you make your issues an issue, you will always have an issue. So I think really just trying to not make my issues an issue. So basically telling myself that all that voice in my head that's telling you can't,
Mm-hmm.
you got to focus on the one that's telling you can. So from now on, it's been working for me. Every time before I start playing, I'll say the devil's a liar. And I say that a couple times, the devil is a liar. Like that voice in my head telling me you can't, it's not true. Don't listen to it. And I've heard NBA players like Jaylen Brown say that too. Like he's had the same problem, and he's an NBA player that
Yeah.
people who go through like psychological warfare have that voice in their head telling them that they can't do it or
Mm-hmm.
don't bother trying because you're gonna fail.
Yep.
So just really trying to zero in and lock in and just believing in the preparation that you've done and the work that you've put in is just really gonna it's just really gonna help you to overcome that. And I've really seen the benefits of that. Just being just working out 5 days a week, just really trying to get my mental ready and just
Mm-hmm.
really trying to use this COVID time to make sure that I'm the best possible version of myself. So when I go back to school, people know that this guy didn't slack off. Like this guy was working. You can clearly tell this guy got better.
Mm-hmm.
You know that this guy is going to be a vital part into what we do this year.
Right.
So just really, like I said, just to come back for something, just really making sure that I don't listen to that voice in my head tell me you can't do it or don't bother try, you're gonna fail.
Right.
And just really focusing on the voice in my head saying you can do it. You put all this work in. Don't let yourself down by letting this voice in your head telling you can't. When
Right.
you practicing this every single day, and now the moment's coming and you're fading away because this voice is telling you can't.
Right.
You're doing a disservice to yourself. So just really focusing on that voice telling me that you can has been really big for me.
Yeah, was a big golfer, and it's like having the yips over little 3-foot putts. Like you should make this. It should be automatic, and there's that little voice in your head. Whatever it is causing like a little bit of a stall, and then you doubt. Then you get up there and you miss them, and it's just trying to tell yourself you've done this. Who knows how many times? You just shut the voice out, like you said. The devil's a liar. Strengthen that. Listen to that voice that says you can, not the one that says you can't, and you're just off and running. Looking at the team this year, one last one we get on the team before I've kind of worked in the Instagram questions as we went, kind of throughout. A lot of it focused on the boycott and the racial injustices and kind of your adjustment to the OUA. But looking at the team this year, you guys have 7 guys coming in, 3 guys from Lincoln Prep. You've got Mukhtar Muhammad from Olds. You've got Nick Galen from Algoma, who you would have played with there, but are playing with now this year. What excites you about this year's Nipissing team? You've got some guys going out as graduates, and then you've got a lot of talent coming in. What excites you about this year's group as a whole?
I think what excites me, first of all, is just how much people we have coming back. Like last year, our team was full of first-year guys. So a lot of guys that were in the rotation, like myself, who got like major minutes in their first year, is now has a year under their belt. So now
Right.
they're coming in knowing what they gotta do to get better.
Hmm.
Like obviously, like myself, we obviously have our backup guard like Jabate who's coming back.
Hmm.
You know, our rookie of the year Danny Lacusa. Like we have a lot of people coming back, and also a lot of people who didn't get playing time last year as rookies. I feel like knowing them, I feel like they're also going to come in with something to prove.
Right.
So they're probably going to be working on the game, saying, "I want to show that I can be a part of the rotation this year."
Hmm.
And I also think that our coach did a really great job of because at our year end meetings, he asked us, what do we need? And one of the things I
That's
said
big.
is we need someone else who can create that's not obviously our starting point guard Quinton Ashite, who obviously went berserk this year. Like shout out to him, like he had
Right.
a phenomenal year.
Hmm.
We need someone else to when he is getting tired because he's human, he's gonna get tired. He's playing
Right.
35 minutes a game. We need someone else to come in and do that.
Right.
And I think he did a tremendous job by getting guard Mukhtar Muhammad,
Yeah.
who I've seen who's like a really solid piece, and I think he's gonna make a great addition to our team.
Hmm.
And also like I always said our team last year, we either had guards or bigs. We had no in between.
Okay.
So I think something else too is that we had a red shirts coming, the red shirts last year that didn't play. So I
Right.
think the addition of now Goma transfer David Bakanga, who is a
Yeah.
small forward, who's a 2-3, is going to be a
Hmm.
great addition because he's exactly what we need. A guy that can come in, shoot, defend, like fill in that void that we needed because we didn't have someone on the wing that could really get their own buckets. So I think he's going to help that too. Also with the bigs, like coach did a good job. So obviously, he has myself coming back. He has another rookie who didn't play much last year, but he's coming in ready to play this year, Kevin Mervert.
Yeah.
We also have someone coming back who used to play in Nipissing and took a year off, a 7-footer, and David Quinn,
Yeah.
who he's going to come in and he's going to be a big. Obviously, we have a big loss in with graduating player Justin Shaver. Obviously, everyone knows how phenomenal he is.
Right.
I think David Quinn is also going to really bring that interior presence that we need, in terms of being a big guy, blocking shots, rim running, doing his post game, going we just have a lot of pieces, and I really like how this team is looking in terms of just all the pieces, and I think all the personalities are going to fit perfectly because I don't think anyone on this team is going to have ego, and plus now he obviously has the addition of Nick Galen, who averaged 18 points a game in Algoma. So that's another
Right.
guy that can come in that can score too. So we have a lot of weapons, and I have faith in my coach that he's gonna find the right system and put people in the perfect places to succeed, and just everything come together in full circle. Like honestly, I said this from last year. Like I don't understand why we can't make playoffs. I don't understand why we can't contend for nationals. Like I don't understand why not.
Yeah.
Like I don't go into the season thinking, oh, we have a new team, so let's just see what happens. No, like I want to make the playoffs and I want to contend for nationals. So I really like what the team that we have this year and the pieces that we have. Like I really think the first day training camp is going to be really exciting, and people are really going to show what they can do
Hmm.
and really prove to themselves and prove to coaches that they have what it takes to be part of this team in terms of being part of the rotation. So I'm really looking forward to see what everyone's been doing during quarantine and how much people
Hmm.
have gotten better.
I think the biggest thing for me about the group that you guys have coming in is the experience. Like you add a guy like Nick who's had years of experience in the OUA. You add Mukhtar who's had experience in the ACAC out at Olds. You add in Dave Bukanga and Marlon the Fortune who played at Algoma. So you've got guys that are coming in that have post-secondary experience. And I'm a firm believer that experience wins in college basketball. Talent will get you so far. Like you see it with the Duke teams and the Kentucky teams who bring in all these 5-star guys and make runs to the Elite Eight and rarely get over the hump. You get your Villanovas and everyone else that has veteran guys that win year in and year out. So I'm a firm believer that experience wins. And then you add in 3 guys that have played for Coach Corey already at Algoma, bring them into a system that they're already familiar with. I think that's another thing that's going to help just grow from last year and add it to the young guys like yourself that have a year of experience now. You're another year along in your experience. Everybody's got more experience under the belts. And I think that's usually a recipe for success. Who knows? But I think adding 4 guys right there that have post-secondary experience is never a bad problem to have.
I just really think that I honestly really believe that we're going to surprise a lot of teams this year. Because think about it, like we finished 8-14 last season,
Mhm.
and we had 10 first years and missed the playoffs by 2 games.
Yep.
Now a lot of those guys are coming back with the extra year of experience,
Right.
plus some veteran leadership, like you said, the people who played in the system before.
Mm-hmm.
I really do believe that people are gonna not expect us to be as good as I think we can be, and I
Right.
do think that everyone has belief in the system and like the program and like the thing, the program that coach is trying to build, basically the mindset and the culture.
Mm-hmm.
So I really do believe that we're gonna surprise a lot of teams this year. Like I don't think people are giving us so much attention. You know, people are still talking about, Lakehead, who had a great year. Obviously, Carlton, who just won the championship. Ottawa.
Right.
Obviously, no one's talking about Nipissing, but I really do believe that this is probably the year that we can actually really make some noise, and people can finally know who Nipissing Lakers are, and just really put the program and North Bay on the map. I really do.
And it's situations like you guys that make me really hope there's a season. I'd hate to see all the hard work and the excitement and everything just kind of go to waste because of COVID. Like if we lose the entire season, like I'm not a player at all, but like I can only imagine the what if question mark that could be on the year, because now everybody's waiting another 6-8 months before they can get back. So it'd be well over a year before, almost a year and a half before you guys would have played a game. And to me, like that, it's obviously worst case. I don't want to even talk that into existence. But it's situations like these that make me really hope that we have a season this year in some capacity. I really hope.
Yeah, like I said, it was never canceled. It was postponed until
Right.
2021. So I
Right.
really do think that that's the thing about our team too. I really do think that everyone has the mindset that it's postponed, not canceled.
Right.
So until we have the season or whenever they say this,
Mm-hmm.
make sure you're in the best possible shape you possibly can. Make
Right.
sure you work on your skills, because until they say the season's canceled, and even then, if it's canceled, because there could still be a next year
Right.
after that,
Yep.
it's making sure that you're as sharp as you possibly can, and just make sure you're doing everything you can to make sure that you are still getting better.
Yep.
Like, and I think that's the important thing too, is just because it was never, you can remember when I saw the thing, it was never canceled. It's just
Nope.
said it's postponed to 2021.
Yep. It was
So
suspended, right?
my mindset, yeah. So my mindset still is that
We're
there's
gonna
still gonna
play.
be. I've never even said there's not gonna be a season. Like
Nope.
anytime people ask us, what's going on, I said the season is postponed to 2021.
Right.
I've never said I don't think there's gonna be a season, because I'm not gonna think like that.
No. Stay
Because
ready. Stay ready. Ain't got to get ready.
the moment I think of that, you take your foot off the gas, and then that's when boom, all of a sudden the devil strikes. So, oh, there's gonna be a season. You
Yep.
took the gas. You're out of shape. You go to training camp. People are gonna think what you've been doing for the last 4 or 5 months. Like, are
Right.
you taking it seriously? Like I said, I refuse to put myself in that position. Like, I want to make sure when I go there, people know I've been working just by how I play.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in shape.
Yep.
I got better.
Yep.
So, and I think everyone has that same mindset too. Like,
Right.
it was postponed but not suspended. And I just think that's the way you gotta look at it.
Yep.
Like until they say OUA says the 2020-21 OUA season is canceled,
Yep.
then we'll deal with it. But until then, I'm not gonna act like it's not, because it's not.
Yep. Cross that bridge when it comes.
Exactly. Don't even put it in the atmosphere.
Right.
I don't even think about it. I never
So
said.
so I will retract my statement. I will not say anything else about it. I will say, so when you guys play in
Yes.
January, when the
Yes.
season kicks off,
Yes.
these are the situations that I love to see. Teams coming in, turning heads, making waves, and putting the Lakers on the map. I think it's going to be a big year for you guys. I really do.
I think so too. I really do.
The one that I didn't work in from Instagram was focused on the Toronto Basketball Academy. Someone asked what makes them so what sets the TBA prep apart from other programs, at least from the men's side?
I think the biggest thing that sets the Toronto Basketball Academy, first of all, shout out to TBA. I think the biggest thing that sets them apart is that they're an organization that is full of underdogs. Like they're an organization that's full of people that grew up with not a lot in terms of social economically, they didn't grow up rich. They didn't grow up with opportunities like other people do in terms of going to the best schools or just whatever. So what I think what sets TBA apart is that they have so much people who have been overlooked, who haven't been given the opportunity, and now that they have someone who's willing to give them the opportunity, is going to give everything they have to make sure that the dreams that they want to come to fruition is going to happen. Like the year that I went there, that every single person on the team was an underdog. Like no one was nationally ranked. No one was being talked about on TV or being one of the best players in Canada. Like no one was really talked about that. Maybe like two people, but after that, we were all basically no names. Like if you said our names, people would be like, "Who?" So I think that's the thing that separates TBA from every other program is that we have a program that's full of underdogs and people who are willing to work and give everything they have to be successful.
Right.
So I think that's what sets us apart is just that so many people are willing to give whatever their all and are just honestly just tired of being overlooked. Like if you're a person that's been overlooked and not given an opportunity, TBA is a place for you. Because they're built off that. They're built off people like from the ground up, like the person who started it, like is used to not being given the opportunity and being looked at or being respected. So I think that's what sets people TBA apart from all the other prep programs. It's just the underdog mentality that everyone from the top, the people who own it to the players that they're bringing every year.
Last one that I have for you is one I've ended the last handful with, and it focuses around growing the attention, the respect, the admiration of U Sports, CCAA basketball in Canada. I think on that TBA, it's so far undervalued, underappreciated, especially on a national level. Really don't hear about it until the finals roll around, and that's it. From a player's perspective, what can we do to further the conversation, get more people looking at, talking about, watching, learning about Canadian university and college basketball, or what would you like to see done to get the level of attention to where it should be?
Well, first of all, I really do think, first of all, you got to put yourself in the position to get noticed, is what I always say. So I think just like Canada basketball's growing a lot. Like just the level of the players that have come out and just really done great things from obviously the high school level to the college level to the NBA now. Like 15 years ago, it was just Steve Nash who was making noise as a Canadian. Now we have dozens of NBA players from Corey Joseph to Tristan Thompson to Kelly Olynyk to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to Jamal Murray to Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Like we have a bunch of Canadians that really help put us on the map. But in order for them to get there, they have to put themselves in the position to get noticed. And it all starts with just working hard. So I'd really I think we're on the right track because obviously with Carleton's 15th national championship, they now have the most national championships of any program in North America.
Right.
That's more than UCLA, which has had people like, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Lonzo Ball and all these people, Darren Collison, more than Kentucky, who has 8, who's had obviously a multitude of NBA talent like Anthony Davis. Obviously you want to go back to like Antoine Walker. Obviously a lot more than Duke for just 5, and we already know what Duke has produced from the NBA talent.
That's true.
I just really think that just continuing to just get better individually, like just the players, because the players are just going to keep getting better and just keep adding stuff to, and it goes back to social media because social media now is so big. So now people are getting the opportunity to see Canadian basketball.
Right.
and just seeing how well we do. Like 3 years ago, they won like the FIBA with when RJ Barrett and
Yep.
Juricic, they led them to the championship.
Yep.
So like people are noticing us. So I don't think in that regards we got to do much. We just got to keep getting better and keep building off of the momentum that we have,
Mhm.
because more people are getting better, and the more people that get better, the more opportunities they'll get, and the more opportunities they'll get could lead into possibly the NBA.
Mhm.
Like I said, we got a lot of NBA players that are Canadian now.
Yep. I think the big thing too is just keeping the conversation consistent. Keep it, especially for the U Sports and CCAA, just keep the conversation going all year round. And I think this year's NBA delay with COVID has helped that, because there are Canadians still playing in August where typically they're not. So I think that's really helped keep Canada basketball at the forefront. And I think for U Sports, CCAA, just consistent conversation on social media, just keep it at the forefront so people don't forget about it for 6 months and come back in October and be like, I don't know who anybody is. I'll just wait till nationals and then come back and watch for a week and then they're gone again.
Yeah.
Was there anything we missed that you want to touch on, shed light on? We hit a lot. We had good conversations about how we can educate and learn to help be part of the change we want to see in the world. Anything that you want to add? I'll leave the last word to you before we wrap it up. I know I put you on the spot with that. I apologize in advance.
That's okay. Yeah, just be positive.
Yeah.
Just be open-minded, and don't be afraid to ask help.
Yeah.
Or don't be afraid just to ask what you can do to help. I'm sorry, I gotta phrase that properly. Yeah, just don't be afraid to ask what you can do to help, and just continue to be positive, continue to have an open mind, and just offer yourself. Like, don't be afraid.
Yeah.
I think that's if anything. Just don't be afraid. That's anything in life. Just don't be afraid to help. Don't be afraid in terms of, like I said, with the psychological standpoint. Don't be afraid. Just don't be afraid. I think that's what I want to say. Just don't be afraid.
And if you get called out for making a mistake, do not overreact. Acknowledge your mistake, learn from it, be better next time. Do not fan the flames any more than they already are. Be part of the change. Don't create a bigger problem.
That's it.
Well, Taijon, I want to thank you for doing this. It was a ton of fun just to hear about your career and just have a conversation. Anytime you want to jump back on, there's always a spot here for you.
I appreciate that.